want to tie this into our podcast in some form before we get to the introduction of the beer and stuff like that. Life itself is truly a miracle each day you got. We take it for granted a lot of the times, and really, if you can find how special even the mundane moments are, that's really the key. And by extension, our podcast tonight is about some of the miracles that we love in baseball. The reason that we're talking about miracles in baseball tonight is because on this day in 1980, which is 43 years ago, if my math is right, the Miracle on Ice took place. There have been a lot of miracles in baseball, and it is now our job to decide which ones are miracles and which ones are just merely improbable. I was watching 4 Days in October, of course, the Red Sox thing this morning, but I was also thinking about the ball going through Bill Buckner's legs in 86. Like, that's definitely something that is very improbable. I used to think it was a miracle because I was like, stuff like that really never happens. But I'm reminded, and Secret Base did some research on this. The Mets and the Red Sox had played an exhibition match earlier that season, if not before the season. And guess what happens? The Mets win, and a few of the runs were scored because a ball went through Bill Buckner's legs at first base. And another thing on top of that is Bill Buckner, his injuries then were well known, and he really got dragged after missing that. Like, it was his entire fault that they lost, which is just nonsense to begin with. But people knew that he was injury riddled. His knees were gone at that point, and normally they would have a defensive substitute at that time. But the rumor is, I don't know if it's confirmed, that Sparky Anderson, I think he was the manager of the Red Sox at that time, kept him out there because he says, no, I want to win with my boys. You know, I'm not going to put in the defensive guy. I'm reminded of 2011 where they're like, yeah, let's leave Nelson Cruz in the outfield to try and catch David Freese's fly ball to right. But that is kind of a change for me. That was going to be one of my miracles, and now I just think it was extremely improbable and really just bad managing on the part of Sparky Anderson.
It splits a crowd because at the end of the day, and the older I've gotten, the more I've kind of realized this in sports, we tend to have a laser focus on specific moments that are pivotal. There's a great sabermetric analysis that I think has become a lot more common in recent years, which is hits that generate the biggest win probability added. So basically, how much does one play move the needle on the probability of your team winning this game? And so big moments like that, like Freese hitting one over Nelson Cruz in 2011, or like we're talking about, a ball getting through Bill Buckner in 86. Those are huge plays as far as the win probability added for their teams. I mean, for the Mets, it won them the game, literally. For the Cardinals and the Rangers, it basically lost the Rangers the game, if not the entire series. But the game is played over 9 innings, over 4 quarters, over 18 holes. The games are played not over the span of individual plays, but over long stretches of time. And so there's multiple opportunities within every game to create chances, to hit shots, to score goals, to score runs, to make putts, etc. Apply this to any sport you wish. But it really comes down to how much do we focus on specific moments. And so, like you're saying, Reese, this really does kind of feel more like an improbability more so than it does a miracle. The 4 Days in October for the Red Sox in 2004, that I think you would be very hard pressed to find many rational people who could say like that's not a miracle, because there's no other way in hell that a team that has seemingly every card in the deck stacked against them, playing against their most bitter rivals who had their number all year, could rip off 4 wins in a row. I mean, every sign in 2004 for the Red Sox points to a loss at the hands of the Yankees in 4 games or 5 games. But over the course of games 4 through 7 in that series, in the 2004 ALCS, the Yankees had moments where they could have won, they should have won the series. They had several moments throughout games 4 through 7. And, well, game 7, not as much. But they had moments where they could have won. And they capitalized on none of them. So really, when it comes down to looking at, okay, what constitutes a miracle? Part of the conversation also has to be how many chances did the other team miss, and what is the likelihood of that happening over and over and over and over and over again? Because with Buckner, it's one play, right? It's one play in a pivotal situation, but it's one play.
We made the comparison to the 95 Mariner, to a Northwest boy. Now, we had your moment as a Boston Red Sox fan, but for a Northwest boy, we would not have baseball in the Pacific Northwest if it weren't for the 95 Mariners. I could go for several hours as to why, if that season didn't happen, we did not deserve a baseball team. The 95 Mariners, we had, in terms of things stacked against them, not to mention we hadn't won anything in 19 years, and we had no hope of winning anything in 19 years. Griffey was out for a good chunk of the season for an arm injury when he just Spider-Man jumped into a wall. So we were without our Hall of Fame key piece in center field for a lot of the time. The stadium was falling apart. The previous year, a couple of tiles came down, and when people tried to fix it, a couple of people died. All of the reasons to stack up against why we shouldn't keep these people here, or this team here. Boy, it was just at the right place at the right time. And it doesn't seem like it was, everything just kind of seemed to fall into place. And I think for me too, that has to be part of a miracle. Because you have people like Moneyball, Billy Bean, and all of those kinds of guys that worked really hard to build that team for less, you know. But this team, it was just like all of a sudden, all of the pieces seemed to click together. Tino Martinez had a career year that year. Edgar Martinez was beginning to really shine as the DH role. Griffey is always Griffey. He will never stop being Griffey, even when he's retired.
Yep.
Jay Buhner put up some big numbers. Broadcasting legend, and also, I assume, some sort of wizard, Mike Blowers, who was our third baseman for that 1 year. He was trash the rest of his career. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm sure. He was trash. He came up with some clutch hits during there. Just all of the pieces seemed to fall into place. And I think we should just say that 95 was a miracle year for the both of us, because the Mariners had their season, and the team in the 90s got to win their World Series.
I would not be alive if it were not for the year 1995. Literally.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I was about to say, it's just like, I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for the World Series. It's like, all right, let's not unpack that.